The greatest producer in hip-hop is a 47-year-old white man from California. And I love that man. Today, we'll be exploring one of the greatest producers of all time, as well as one of my favorite artists of all time. He holds the #1 spot on my Spotify Wrapped 2 years in a row, tied with Westside Gunn. We're talking about Alan the Chemist, aka Alchemist or Uncle Al, and why he needs to be protected in the realm of hip-hop.
Okay, just play this next shit, man. This is my shit right here. This that Mobb Deep shit right here. Come on.
Stronger than ever. I'm back, nigga.
I'm not a purist. I'm not like, I hate that other stuff. Keep it real, hip hop. I love all. There's good and there's bad. If we got it now, we gotta go. And it's like I still got it in me. I don't feel like I still feel like I could get better.
You happy with that piece? I'm gonna need that pot.
If you don't know who Alchemist is, you don't know hip hop, and you can turn this video off right now. If you're unfamiliar with who Alchemist is, he's a literal living legend in the game, and he's probably produced a song for one of your favorite hip-hop artists. We're talking Drake, Kendrick Lamar, Lil Wayne, Nelly, Raekwon, Erykah Badu, Guru, Mobb Deep, and more. All have had a chance to get a song from Uncle Al, and he doesn't miss. But what's undeniable is that this God-gifted producer, and I'm definitely glazing, but he's my favorite artist, so pardon my glazing, but this God-gifted producer has had a wonderful run in the past 8 years and has changed the tides of hip-hop, particularly in the underground scene. We've seen classic records from Westside Gunn and Conway the Machine, Currency, Larry June and 2 Chainz, Freddie Gibbs, Bodie James, Earl Sweatshirt, Mike and Wiki, and they all have a special place at AOC Records for a reason. But to really express how I feel about Alchemist, I got first take you back how I found him. The year was 2012, and I was getting into Action Bronson, and he released his mixtape Rare Chandeliers with Alchemist. And the first song that I really got attracted to was Gateway to Wizardry. Now this song has to be the best beat in my opinion from Alchemist, and I'll even argue that. But ever since then, I was hooked on his production, and I knew that Alchemist was special.
Yeah, good hoodie, shorty got the good pussy. Sniff coke, go for Chris Punning. Stay blunted, silk pants, sip France. Chicks dance, I stand in the pimp stance.
Songs like Demolition Man and Sylvester Lundgren as well also really drew me in, and I just realized that this guy Alchemist had a special place in my heart. I just didn't know how it was going to grow in the year 2025, 13 years later. But what I was recognizing that I really enjoyed his production style of minimalistic or no drums to electric guitar samples or just really dark piano keys. I just really enjoyed the griminess and the feeling of his sampling in his music, and it just was something different from, say, a Kanye West, who I was always privy to when it came to his style of sampling. But one thing about Alchemist is that he's going to create a beat that is like sinister. Like that's going to be the feeling you get out of one of his songs, is that like there's a sinister dark vibe and spookiness to it. I think the best example of this, of course, is Meet the Grands by Kendrick Lamar. That is a spooky horror film-esque type beat that only Alchemist could cook. And the second I heard the song when it came out, one, I was spooked in my mind, but also I realized, I was like, no, that's Alchemist. I think Alchemist produced this. And by the time this video comes out, I will have gone to 2 Alchemist concerts, one to Camp Flognog last year, and the other one will be this year to the Freddie Gibbs concert and Alchemist tour. So all I can say is that there is something special about having an S-tier producer and an S-tier rapper come together and create a project. And that's why today I'm going to give you 2 reasons why Alchemist is the GOAT producer in today's generation of hip-hop. Number 1, he's bringing the solo produced album wave back. Like I said, he's by no means the first person to do this. However, he is the person with the most longevity and popularity. Of course, Metro Boomin has done this as well as people like Harry Fraud. But I feel like Alchemist has a special place in people's heart because he is such a coveted hip-hop timepiece. But there is an importance to having one producer on an album creating songs for an artist. At one point in time, having one producer was a very normal thing because it was due to proximity and distance. If you didn't know anybody that made beats in your area, that's the producer you were stuck with, right? And so if that producer was ill on the beat, but you were terrible on your writing, everybody was going to know that and call you trash. So that means if he was good on the beat, you had to be good at your bars to make something amazing. Or if the producer was trash at the beats and you were trash at your bars, well, that's just terrible. You need to step your game up because this guy's holding you down and you're also holding yourself down. Think Nas, who has great bars, but sometimes terrible production. But when we think of Alchemist, he rarely has bad beats or is known to have amazing sampling production. That being said, if you're an MC on the mic with Alchemist production, you better step your bars up because otherwise it's going to sound really bad when you have a quote-unquote jazz beat, right? And you sound terrible on it. And this is what can dispel that argument that jazz beats are the worst type of beats, because Alchemist makes some amazing beats, and you probably heard a jazz beat that you actually like from Alchemist. It's just that the person rapping on it was trash. But then when you get a jazz beat and you have Rock Marciano over there talking about selling snow, it just sounds sinister and grimy and awesome. You gotta love it. Plus, when Alchemist produces an album for an artist, there's clearly a chemistry between him and the artist that happens in the booth. You're not just getting 10 beats from Alchemist and you send you on your way and then you just throw out the album into the world. No, you're sitting there cooking those songs in that studio with Alchemist, probably in his studio itself. You're going through the samples with him. You're actually taking the time to create a vibe, a style, or a version of the music that he wants to create. And that's really important.
I want to work with you guys. I wanted to work with Billy, and he proposed Woods, by the way. He'll get mad if I call him. I wanted to work with Woods. When we first linked, I think they thought that I was going to do beats that were, or at least Elucid, who told me, like, damn, I thought you were going to give us more something like we might have give West Side Gun or something of that lines. And I told him, not really. I was inspired by what you guys were doing.
Right.
And I felt like I could do a different drum pattern, or I can do something that's a little different than what the MCs I'm working with.
I feel like this is like creating a dish, right? You get Alchemist not just sending you stuff, he's actually sitting there curating this dish, really, really putting some sauce and seasoning into it, right? And then it becomes perfect after you two work together, and voila, you have a perfectly crafted AOC spaghetti. I don't know. I've been watching too much Action Bronson. And one of the most important things about all this is that these albums tend to be shorter. Rarely do you see Alchemist albums go past 14 songs. I think like The Great Escape might have been like 16 songs, and that's like the most I've seen from Alchemist production. But it gives you a chance to spin the album like say 50 minutes or so runtime, and then either move on to the next album or project he worked on, or just sit with the project that you have right here because it's only 50 minutes and you can actually enjoy it. And in today's realm where in 2025 there's albums releasing like every week and they're 20 songs long, are you really enjoying all those songs? Probably not. There's probably some throwaways on there because of label constituents and also like label deadlines. You have all this music going onto this album that you might not necessarily like, versus when you get an Alchemist produced album, you're going to get about 10 to maybe 15 songs, about 50 minutes runtime, 55 minutes, hour max, and then you move on to the next project that he might have produced, or you just sit and spin that album for a while if you don't like it or you do like it. But I would say this is one of the best things about having an ALC project. They are not long at all. In essence, I feel like an Alchemist produced project is like a short film. Like each one is different. When you see albums like Life is Beautiful, it's clearly lifestyle rap, right? Same thing with The Great Escape. But when you get something like Alfredo, it's a little bit more deep, a little bit more harsh and dark, going into different realms of Freddie's mind. Like every album is a short film with Alchemist behind the lens, showcasing what he wants to give you. Man, I'm literally killing it with these analogies as I was writing this. Number 2, it ushered in a new wave of the underground hip hop scene.
Sometimes it be in this like purist, keep it real hip hop boom. I'm really not that. I love music. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be put in a box. I don't want to be limited. Even when we did Generations, joined on the album, at first Change was like, he didn't even want to hear any of those beats. Because we started that record together first, and he was like, I don't want those shorty.
Like an Alchemist trap beat. I'm like, man, then I went back.
Because to me, I have different bags I go in depending on the artist.
Larry June and 2 Chainz already had some collaboration work before Alchemist, but Alchemist and Larry June first partnered on, of course, The Great Escape, and that was really due to him being friends with Jay Worthy, and that being the connection point between Alchemist and also Larry June. But then he calls up 2 Chainz for Life is Beautiful, and 2 Chainz and Larry already had a good connection. 2 Chainz just became independent, and they decided to make Life is Beautiful an amazing album. And this is where you get this Rolodex connection bridge point of amazing people working with each other. And then on projects like The Great Escape, you see Larry June working with people like Action Bronson, Bodie James, as well as Slum Village. Everybody that Alchemist has been friends with that he brings onto the project that he feels like they would fit on a certain song, and it always works. And then on projects like Bo Jackson, you get people like Earl Sweatshirt, Rod Marciano, Freddie Gibbs, and Currency, people who he had already worked with, but fostered that relationship to say, hey, look, Bodie, I want you to bring these people on because this beat low-key sounds like them too, and I think you would actually like them as friends. And it creates a connection in the underground hip-hop scene like no other. The point is that Alchemist is that bridge connection point for other artists who are underground to work with each other. A lot of times, because the internet is so big and vast, you feel like you can do it on your own and that you don't need any help. But what happens is that ALC allows people to say, hey, you work with Alchemist, I worked with him. Let's work together and also call Uncle Al to get a new beat up on here. Let's see if we can make a project together. That's how you get Fetty and Currency. That's how you get Alfredo later on. Like, you don't get Alfredo without Fetty. You don't get Alfredo 2 without Alfredo 1. Like, Alchemist is truly a Rolodex of context for underground artists to truly work together and enjoy making music again. But this doesn't just make for good music. It also makes for new discovery of a different artist. I didn't really listen to Larry June like that until I started hearing more stuff from him in Alchemist. 89 Earthquake was a single, and I was like, dang, this sounds really, really good. I wasn't really a big fan of Larry June, and I was like, let me tap into The Great Escape. And the second it released, I was hooked onto this album. And I've been an Earl Sweatshirt fan for a while, but I kind of took a break from listening to his music. But when Bo Jackson came out and I heard Photographic Memories, I was like, man, Earl sounds amazing on this. I need to go back and really listen to some more of his stuff. And then, of course, they released Vor Dire, and it's amazing. And I didn't know who Rock Marciano was like that, and I didn't listen to too much of Freddie Gibbs. But when I heard Alchemist's beat on $500 Ounces on Pray for Paris, and yes, Pray for Paris is not a solely produced Alchemist project, but when I heard $500 Ounces and heard Freddie Gibbs coming like he did, and then to see Alfredo release like a month later from that date, I decided to say, hey, let me just go check out Rock Marciano. Let me check out Freddie Gibbs. And I have been hooked ever since. That because Alchemist is such a Rolodex of context, it allows for new discovery when you say, hey, I like Alchemist and he works with all these people all the time. Let me go listen to their music as well, whether it be Alchemist produced or not. And it is such a good discovery method. It's also cool to see different people pull up to the concert. Like Camp Flog Gnaw, I'll throw up some footage here. Navy Blue, Earl Sweatshirt, Domo Genesis, Schoolboy Q out there. Of course, we have Bodie James out there as well. It was a great concert because all these people pulled up just because they're all friends with their Uncle Al. And just to put the icing on the cake about this, Westside Gunn is opening up for Erykah Badu on the Abby and Allen tour, I think in California, like right now. Like that makes no sense and all sense at the exact same time because Erykah and him are making an album and he's done stuff with Westside Gunn. It's just like, wow, this is like the greatest connection point to underground hip hop there is. Number 3, the secret behind Alchemist's run.
The way she thinks is independent. And she was telling me stories every step of the way. She had to fight the fucking power, the label, the people, and like convince people. And it was like she had the independent spirit, and she won every time. Every time she told me about the shit she went through, like with even Tyrone.
But Alchemist has done all of this while being independent. Now, if you don't recognize, being independent in today's realm is not as easy as you think it is. Being independent can sometimes feel like a death sentence, especially in hip hop, because how are you going to get a good marketing budget or decent connections out when you don't have a big label behind you? So we have people still taking 360 deals in 2025. For what reason, I don't know. We all know the pain of having a 360 deal in 2025, but people still take those deals because they don't see another way out except being independent, which could be a death sentence. You don't have those connections. You don't have the marketing budget. You don't have any of that stuff. You got to do it all on your own. And contrary to popular belief, the internet is not as good as you think it is to have like your music directly to the consumer. Like, yes, you can get your music out there still. Yes, you can do your own marketing. However, you're relying on an algorithm. You're relying on Meta and X.com and TikTok to push your song out there. And you got to be trendy. You got to make it a certain type of way that people can all like it. And that might not be the people you're looking for when it comes to your audience. But what you see with people like Uncle Al is the ability to work with smaller artists who are going for something completely different. You get the Chris Cracks, the Wikis, the Mikes. You get these people to actually be able to work with Uncle Al because he likes working with independent artists because he is one himself. He has shifted in a whole different direction than a standard record label would. And this has allowed him to work with people like Sideshow, Jay Worthy, Wiki, Mike, because these people are not in the realm of mainstream hip hop that the mainstream wants to actually get that sound out. They don't care for this underground hip hop wave or the conscious rappers. They don't care about that because it doesn't make sales or profit at large. But it does make sales and profit in terms of the underground, and you can still have a large following just being independent. And Alchemist understands that because he is independent.
Now I went through a lot of stages of record labels, major ones, independent ones, and finally now I'm at a place where it's like the system that we got set up to do like streaming, sell your own product direct. Right. That's really what it is I just feel like we're in the freedom now to just go. It's on. It's solid Rolodex now of like, okay, I want to make a toy or I want to make a thing. You know who to go to. Yeah. And it's on. Once you get it all like tied in, you have a good time and it just flows. You know what I mean?
And more importantly, it's because the man loves hip hop. Like, Alchemist is not creating these projects because he just also enjoys making money. I think he does like the money aspect, let's be real. But I think he truly enjoys hip hop. He truly loves the game. He truly loves the music he creates and loves the artists he creates it with. And because of that, he wants to keep having creative reign, something that independence allows him to do. And that being under a big record label, he wouldn't necessarily have that ability. And through this, the underground under ALC can actually still flourish and still create fans. And I'm not saying the mainstream is wrong. I'm not saying that all mainstream music is bad. I think it's fine to listen to some mainstream music. I still do myself. However, the mainstream has a tendency to overshadow underground hip hop and basically put it in this realm of like, yeah, don't listen to that. That's trash. Or who wants to listen to that because they only have 30,000 or 500,000 followers. Like, who cares about that artist? But people do. And AOC is the reason why they do, because they say, hey, look, Uncle Al's worked with some of the biggest people on the planet, but he also still works with the independent artists on the side no matter what. And this way, the underground hip hop scene can still flourish under AOC Records despite the mainstream being so heavy. And this is not me to say that mainstream music is bad or you shouldn't listen to it, because I still listen to mainstream music all the time. However, because of the internet, because of how marketing is and big label budgets are, having mainstream music overshadow underground hip hop is very, very common, and it will always happen. But through AOC Records, Alchemist being one of the most coveted hip-hop producers of all time, working with some of the biggest juggernauts, you still have the ability to hear independent artists have their voices be heard and have their albums be put out there for others to see.
They put music out through their label, and their label has a taste. If I do a label, it can have a taste also. And I started really creating products that I love, that I think are fresh, limiting them through trial and error. Every time I made a mistake, and I loved it. I loved the mistakes because I was learning from them, and it was like, okay. And it took a year or two, and after 2 years of steady releases with ALC, with vinyl, then started doing limited cassette CD, limited merch, really putting care into the shit, like not worrying about the whole fucking rap game, like whatever. I'm not in it anymore. There's more than one way to skin a cat, you know, and there are so many income streams now that once you figure it out, this is the best time ever. And man, being able to create catalog under my own label, that's a dream.
But what Uncle Al showed us is that it is still possible to be independent and have creative reign over your art and work with other independent artists that want to do the same thing at a high level and still amass a fandom and a base that actually cares about your music. What we see is that you don't have to always find a big label or a giant contract to get your music out there. You can still find your core fan base with the underground hip hop scene and a great producer behind your back that even the mainstream wants, but you still have the ability to create some amazing art. And this is truly because Alchemist loves hip hop. He has a love for the game. He loves working with the people he works with. This is not about making another album for profit. It's truly about collaborating with an amazing artist to make some amazing art that other people can enjoy, that he knows he can bring out to his shows, bring to the studio with other artists that he's also worked with, and be that connection point like a big label while still being independent. And that is why Alchemist is truly the greatest of all time in our current hip hop generation. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell notification for all my new videos. My name is Isaiah Barlow, and this is The Turntable.